In this video, we're going to talk about 5 ways that women subtly emasculate men. So these are 5 things that women do that you may not notice on the offhand that they're doing these things and they are emasculating you, okay? But you have to be aware of them, because if you're not aware of them, then what's going to happen is things may start out really great, but they will quickly turn bad. She will lose attraction for you and then she will pull away. So what a lot of times I see guys doing is they go in unwittingly, like these seem like innocent things. Some of them, women are not totally conscious of that they're emasculating you, but in the end, because you did them, they will lose attraction for you. So we're going to talk about what each of those 5 things are, how you can avoid them, and even if you're in it, what you can do to actually come back from it or save the interaction. But it's my opinion that you should try and nip all of these in the bud as quickly as possible. You don't want to run away super quick, or you don't want to just like be very aggressive about it. There's a way to do it that's classy and that's not going to be mean. So if you do this correctly, you start things out on a good precedent. If you allow her to get away with these things, not only is she going to lose attraction for you, but even if she somehow stays with you, you're setting things off at a very, very bad precedent where she will slowly but surely lose respect for you. So we'll talk about what each of those are right now. Number 1, this is going to be she won't leave her friends. And I'm not just talking about maybe you met her at a bar and she's like going to stick around and hang out with her friends. That typically just means she's not that interested in you. This is a woman who is a little bit interested in you, at the very least a little bit. And I say a little bit for a reason. You'll find out why in a second. Maybe you guys had plans to do something, but instead of doing the plans, she decides, hey, would you be down to just hang out with me and my friends? Like we're already at a bar, or we're already doing X, Y, Z. Why don't you just come join us? And a lot of guys are like, oh, great, I like this girl, I'm gonna come join her. Don't ever do this. If you go, what's gonna happen is she's gonna have a bunch of inside conversations with her friends. She's gonna be laughing the whole time, and you're just gonna be sitting there like this. How on earth can you come across as a man in that circumstance? The man's got to lead. The man's got to be the one who's kind of dictating the pace and stuff like that. He's got to be the one who's progressing the interaction further, right? You can't do any of that sort of stuff. You can't be dominant or in any of those ways be a cool guy while everyone else is laughing and you're just like, hey, what are you guys talking about? Or worse, you're probably going to be following them the whole time. So say no every time women say this. Another thing that they might do is you might have a date planned and they bring a friend on the date. If you get a woman who brings a friend on the date, I don't know if any of you have had this before, I would just recommend that you say, hey, you know, I thought it was going to be the 2 of us. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, but I thought my friend could come too. And I'm like, listen, if you want to hang out with your friend, that's totally fine. I would prefer to hang out with you one-on-one. And if she really is sticking to it, I might just end the date right there. Again, you gotta nip this in the bud, right? If you weren't clear and you didn't know it was a date and you don't wanna be rude, okay, you can entertain the both of them, but honestly, that is going nowhere. You started it out from a bad precedent. At best, you are gonna be just friends with this person. The only time I've ever had that work out is if I've invited them to a party or something that I'm doing, and I don't mind if they bring a friend. That works for me all the time, but in this case, it was under the context of a date. And the third thing that they do a lot of times is they typically just won't leave their friend. Everywhere they go, their friend has to come with them, right? Or maybe they're just hanging out with their friends and they won't leave them. Typically it just means that they're not that interested. But women like this have a low sense of security in themselves and a low sense of self-assuredness. Sure, they may not be that into you or they may think you're unsafe, but if they do like you and they're doing this, it means they're insecure, and that's not someone that you should really involve with in your life. So in all of these cases, for the first one, if she invites you out to your friends, you politely decline and then invite her out to do something else when you guys are actually gonna be one-on-one. And in the other cases, I would just shut that down. Right? That's not something that you should be putting up with. Number 2, another way that women emasculate men is undermining your decisions. It can happen very subtly. Maybe you plan a date or something like that. You guys are gonna go get sushi and she's like, you know, I was thinking that instead of sushi, we could go to this place. And she picks another restaurant that's like more closer to her. You know, she's not down to drive all the way to where you wanna go. She'd rather just like kind of hop outside. She's not willing to exert a lot of effort, or she just doesn't trust her decisions and she'd rather do something that she wants to do. Women typically will not do this with a guy who they see as a masculine man or a guy who they like. Women enjoy following along and going to the plans that a guy who is masculine or who they're really into makes, right? Unless she is allergic or she has some dietary constraints, like no problem there. But if she's just like, oh, I just prefer this other place, no. Okay, if that happens to you, what I want you to say is we can totally go to that place next time, but I think you'll love this place that I picked. And if she pushes back and she says, no, I don't want to go to that, then you probably are wasting your time anyway. And so I would text somebody else. But if she does like you and you've kind of held firm, but you've also been polite and said, hey, no problem, we can go to that place later, there was some compromise there, then yeah, it can still work. But again, if you do the thing that she says, she will not respect your authority as a man, and she will not respect your decisions in the future, okay? And more than likely, she's just not gonna text you back. 3, withholding intimacy. Not every single time a woman decides not to sleep with you is this a bad sign. A lot of times they actually do this because they want it to work out, all right? There was one time where I even waited 4 months to sleep with a woman, okay? But in that case, I knew without a shadow of a doubt she was into me and this was heading somewhere. But in my opinion, most of the time, when a woman is withholding sex, and I'm talking like maybe you get to the 3rd date or something like that and she's still only making out with you, or maybe she'll let you come to bed with her or whatever, and then you guys will make out, or maybe you'll take your top off or something like that, and she's never actually willing to go all the way with you, and there's no real reason involved. I guarantee you that woman is willing to do that for somebody else she either respects more, either sees as more attractive or a better option or whatever it is. But for you, she's making you wait. And some people might say, well, maybe she's trying to turn around a new leaf. Maybe she's trying something new. It doesn't matter, okay? If you put up with this continuously of getting denied, then what's going to happen is she will actually lose respect for you too, even though you are respecting her boundaries. It sounds crazy, but that's the way it is. So in this case, if it happens a few times, honestly, you should probably have a discussion about it if you guys are really into each other and you've been seeing each other for a while. But in my opinion, I've never seen that really work out with a woman who didn't have a really good excuse for it. So in my opinion, you should find somebody else who isn't willing to play those kinds of games with you. Number 4, this one is small, but it is a big tell with how she sees you and how she respects you. Walking in front of you. So typically, if you're taking a woman out on a date, she typically follows you or follows your lead as you're walking. But I've been on dates with women when I was early on in my dating process that were maybe a little bit above what I would normally be able to get. And a lot of times they wouldn't respect me and they would just like walk in front of me and like they were leading and I was like trying to chase them. If you see this happening, like, you can make a joke about it if you want to. You can be like, slow down, road runner, like where are you going? Come back here. You can be playful about it. If you've had to tell her a number of times and she just like won't do it, like that's just who she is. In my opinion, you should find somebody who is willing to do that for you. Women naturally gravitate to and follow the lead of the guy that they're really into, and if she's not doing that, then my guess is she doesn't respect you as a man, and until you decide to walk away and take that ability for her to see you and have the romantic connection with you away, she is not going to value it. So, in my opinion, if you see this consistently, I would find a person to date who is going to do that for you. You can be playful with it at first, but if you see it happening again and again, you're setting a bad precedent for the relationship. And by the way, I'm not saying that the relationship 100% won't happen. It might happen. There are women who these guys date and maybe even get into a relationship with, but they never respect them. And number 5, she's always on her phone. I don't know about you, but the woman that I'm dating right now, when we first went out together, she was never on her phone. I put my phone down and I almost never looked at it. There might have been a few messages that had to come up from work that I had to check, but even that I would recommend that you get your phone out of it. If you're meeting somebody, you're talking to them, your phone shouldn't be in it. If she has more of an attention span for this thing, and even if she's 21, Gen Z, always on TikTok, she should still be excited to come out on a date with you, okay? If her phone is more exciting than you, then that typically means that you're just not what she's looking for, okay? And this is the subtle ways that women do this. If you're just like competing for her attention between her and a phone, then it's gonna be really, really tough. I actually have taken women's phones on a date if they were looking at them too much. I'd be like, give me that phone. No, you can have this back when we actually have a decent conversation, right? And if she freaks out, she gets super pissed off or whatever, which by the way, that did not happen. She actually started behaving a lot better after I did that. Sometimes they just need you to take charge real quick. If she starts freaking out, then you can give it back to her and you can say, all right, well, it sounds to me like this is not something that, you know, you're particularly into, so, you know, maybe we should go our separate ways. Like, I really think that you should put your foot down and say something like that. It will feel scary to say crazy things like that. It will feel scary to walk away. But if someone is not giving you their attention, if someone is not willing to follow your lead on a date that you planned, then you need to find someone who is going to do that, right? There's a lot of ways that women emasculate men, and sometimes they do this unwittingly, but if you've, like I said, nipped it in the bud, you've taken care of it, and they choose to do it again, at that point it is conscious and it is a choice. You need to find someone who isn't going to do those things for you. And ironically, by you having the courage to walk away and go after someone who is going to give that for you, a lot of them will start acting a lot better. And you're gonna start seeing women in your life behaving completely different. Right? So if you have abundance, if you have a lot of the things that we talk about, you have confidence most of all within yourself. Abundance is a mindset. It's not just something that you know, oh, I have like 5 girls I could sleep with. It's a mindset. If you have that, then women will start behaving completely different towards you. And that's exactly what I talk about on this channel and I help guys with in real life. So I'm helping dozens of guys currently right now. So if you want to be one of those guys, click the link in my bio and we'll talk. Good luck out there, you guys.